there was a request that we put that under the sheriff's budget. I don't know that we should saddle the sheriff's budget with this. I personally think it should stay in its own fund. But I'm open to suggestions. I don't remember who made the request.
I'm thinking we just leave it in there, we just leave it in the general.
Good, me too.
Yeah. Cause he's got no idea, you don't know if it's coming or not, he ain't got no way to get any, anyway.
No,
We're just gonna end up doing another journey transfer, we gotta do anyway.
and that's one of those, you don't see it coming, it just happens. But we can start saving up again and have a nest egg.
Economic Development 2320.
So, MBAC, in order to, and I brought my disclaimer if you guys wanna see this, but in order for, economic development, in our case it's MBAC, to be able to work for us and provide the services that they do, we have to have buy-in. And that's a requirement of both EDA and CRDC. EDA is Economic Development Association, that's federal, and CRDC, I think, is state, and that's Certified Regional Development Corp. Those are the major funders of economic development for all the counties. So Lewis and Clark County pays 1%, City of Helena pays 1% or roughly. Townsend, or 1 mil, not 1%, 1 mil. Lewis and Clark, or Townsend, Marr County, and White Sulphur Springs, and then Broadwater County. And that's their local funding. It comes up to about 3% of their overall funding, so it's pretty minuscule. But it does assure the feds and the state that the counties are anteing up. We get far more services than the 1 mil that we pay for, as you've already seen. That was taken out of PILT this year, and that was a compromise. I think it should come out of mills again, but whatever you guys think is fine. We do generally $0.5 mil to BCDC and 1 mil to MBAC. The law used to say you had to give 2 mils, and then it changed and said you can give up to 2 mils, and then it changed and there's no limit. So no bottom limit, no top limit.
Isn't there a line already set up for that in?
For both.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only question would be last year we zeroed out that line and we paid it from PILT. What we did is we took the money that was paid back from the turn lanes at the southern end of the county and used that to fund economic development, since it was directly, thanks to Mark Menke at MBAC, that we even had that money come back to the county, plus interest. So I think the two did not get divided last year. We'll have to double check with Debbie. It is something I'd like to see redivided this year, and we would still have that fund. So it's not something we need to make a decision on today, but I do think it would be cleaner to just have it be consistently a mil. It's more transparent for the public.
So if we just say that it's the value of a mill to come out of PILT?
That's what we did last year. We could do that again.
Why don't we just say the value of a mill, PILT payment equal to the value of a mill, and then whatever our mill comes out, that's what it is.
We can do that.
And then we don't have to worry about setting an amount, we just, whatever the mills are, that's what it'll be.
Okay. I will tell you, MBAC took just like 0.8 something of their mill last year. They elected to do that, which was nice. did not bring it. I'll ask Ann to come down when we're done and just read my disclaimer, just in case anybody wants to say that I didn't disclose, which I have disclosed that, well, I guess I didn't. Brian does work for MBAC, he is the executive director, and I do have a letter of disclosure that I will produce. And basically, this is a requirement of counties to pay into the EDA and the CRDC so that we may gain their services. There is no conflict of interest. I do not benefit personally one bit, and the money that Broadwater County pays to MBAC is actually not paying any of the salaries, especially for the executive director. All right, so which one next?
Group health.
Group health. Right, this one will be easy because we don't do anything with it. This one is Debbie's. She plugs in numbers into a formula provided to her from Department of Revenue. And she will, both for group health and the permissive mill levy, she'll determine those and it'll just show up in our budget. We do our floating mills, we do pay money. Let's see, 32, is that right? To the permissive. And yeah. $17.81. All right, which one next?
The permissive medical level.
All right, same thing.
2372.
We'll pass that off to Debbie and ask her to work her magic with formulas, and she'll bring that back to us.
Employee safety.
So the way this is funded is, when our mod factor gets reduced, we get a little bit back from our from our insurance, and we've been putting that into the safety fund. We have not spent a lot of it. Brian, when he was a safety coordinator, didn't take his salary for that time out of the safety fund. I talked to Mike, and I think he should, and I told him that, and I think he's going to be a little bit more diligent about taking his hours out of the safety fund. It's no harm, no foul, to either Brian or to Mike. It's just a different way of doing things. But it just does make it cleaner, and then we can track how much time is spent on safety. So there was very little spent last year. It looks like a total of $254. And we did budget about $41.11. I don't know that we'll get anything back this year, but since we didn't spend it last year and it's a standalone fund, we can just shovel that over.
You probably might have some more travel or training expenses though.
Yeah, Safety Fest.
Yep.
All of that should be coming out of the safety budget. So that might be also a budget amendment we want to ask Debbie to do. Mary going to Safety Fest might also be something we want to take out of the safety budget, even though Mike is the safety coordinator. Mary is, I think, going to be quite a big help to him. Any other questions on that one? Okay, which one next?
Alcohol rehab, 2800.
One thing that this just kind of sparked my memory from what we talked about when we were over meeting with the sheriff last week about.
You and I are on the same wavelength.
Yeah, right? Yep. We was talking about Mako and they should be getting some kind of discount and they're having such a great performance and running the detention center.
Or the rebate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
I
think
guess
that's,
we'll have to open that conversation.
We'll bring that up at the district meeting.
I
There you
think
go.
we should,
There, I think you're right.
absolutely.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alcohol rehab, we already spent that, actually. That is the money we just signed the contract for about 3 weeks ago
Mhm.
to go to BHC instead of Park County, so that's already done. And the number's the same.
2894, state allocated federal mineral royalties.
That one's also easy. The state will tell us how much we have. We don't generally spend it, and you can see it is a whopping huge amount.
What did, Doug spent it on something this year?
Computers,
Computer.
Oh, he did.
computers and printers.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
That's what it's always gone to. There's 3 different mining funds that we have. 2 of them you can't spend, 1 of them you can spend on, I think, operations.
Mhm.
But we've always spent it on computers and printers. So that one's easy because we don't know what we have there. Debbie will get a report and she'll plug in the numbers, and just the same number on both sides.
So the next one's pill.
Oh, let's do that one last. Well, actually, that one's easy because it's up to Debbie again to plug it in, and then we will have a separate meeting where we go through PILT and determine where the first payments go, and then, in my opinion, split it into, back to the turn lane fund, but then also save, not spend it all. We do, in the past, we have spent it on unforeseens and capital expenditures, and I would love to get back to having a savings every year that we roll over.
Yeah, I think that's important to do that.
I do too. So yeah, PILT's pretty easy. I did see on the Department of the Interior, they do have a note on there that PILT has been fully funded. Now, we knew it was. What that means, we don't know. Are they gonna take out both last year's SRS and this year's and work the formula that way? We don't know, but we do know we're getting something. So, that's good. Which one next? And you had already stated that, Mike, in a public meeting, but I was excited to see it too. Okay, which one?
What's the pill 2900 versus, oh, it's the same one. Okay.
Yeah,
2902 Forest Reserve Title III projects.
that one's easy too. Title III used to be really convoluted. They made it really difficult, and so most counties didn't do anything. One county was totally doing it wrong, and because it's forest reserves, then it's federal, and it just was a mess. So advice to us and to all other counties was don't even do Title III forest reserves, so we don't. I think Debbie was just throwing everything at us. Well, and it is our decision, not hers, so it was right that she gave it to us. But, yeah, the money in there is just left over from past years.
Okay. Mental health LAC grant.
That is money we ought to give to our local advisory council. One year, the legislature determined that the Center for Mental Health for us and every county's mental health agency would be paid through entitlement share. And they increased entitlement share to offset that. And so what we did is we took the money that we would have paid and we gave it that year to the local advisory council. So it was about $5,600. They don't spend very much at all. I think they probably have some of that still left over. So what I would suggest maybe is ask Debbie what they have in revenue. If they do have a couple thousand, I think it's fine just to leave it. They don't spend a lot of it. So how about this, if they have less than $3,000, we can come back and talk about it. If they have more, you wanna just call that good?
Mhm.
Okay.
Is this gonna be part of what Melinda's involved in, the pier thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 And I don't know if there'll be any cost with that. It might be the state that pays that. I don't think it'll be the LAC.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one was salary recreation.
All right. This one, we did some work last minute on the budget last year, and then right after that, we got a big check. Our budget season does not coincide with Silos Recreation at all. So I printed the revenue for Silos so that we could get a better idea of where we were. And I think it was like $6,000 that came in. Fares. Silos. Estimated revenue last year was $20,060, and revenue to be received is $12,000 yet. Now, this would be for June, so what we don't have showing up yet is the docks. Most of those will be paid for before July 1st, and she sells out of the docks. She's, on April 1st, she starts selling those gazebos. They are booked and paid for that day. She sells out. And then any camping that happens from the first day of operation, sometime in April or May, through June 30th. That will all be added here, so we'll be pretty close to that 20,000 is my guess.
Okay. So is that just gonna estimate the 20,000,
Yeah,
the revenue?
yeah. And then, basically how that department is funded, it is an enterprise fund like the solid waste fund. So everything that she sells at the silos, she pays the county 10%. With that is the 20,000 that sits in this account, and then she takes that money as the sinking fund. So that's what she'll use to repair the wheelchair lift on the docks. She'll use that to repair the docks. She'll use that for all the different things we went through with BOR, to buy the fire extinguishers, to repaint the picnic tables, to fix the bathrooms, all of that.
Sean just mentioned to me that the pressure tank is, one of the pressure
Yes.
tanks is bad,
Yeah.
so that'll be something on there.
Yeah. And each year we actually build a little bit into this because the money can't go anywhere else. It can only be used here. So we should have the money to pay that. So on this budget, you guys good with just keeping the same numbers?
Yeah.
Pass them, switching them over? Okay. And then we'll guesstimate the same revenue. Right, so I have predatory animals, sheep and beef, or sheep and cattle. I'm hungry. That's why I said beef. That's Debbie's. It comes from the state, we pay the same amount. Ambulance, non-enterprise, that kind of is the same as the airport. If you guys are good with it, we can just shift the numbers over. Everything that they don't spend, we put into the CIP to help pay for a new ambulance every year. Occasionally, they'll come to us like with the lift for something extra, but we don't generally see that. And then these mills can go to pay for that. We could work with them on some kind of a rent for the annex, or we can just wait and see what happens and, forget it until then. Probably not a big deal either way. So if you guys are good with it, we'll just transfer the same numbers over,
Yeah, I think so.
okay? And then the library. I think Eric sent an email, he wanted to know if the library budget was approved. The library is city-county, so it is unique in Montana, in that it's joint. So we don't have, and in my opinion, nor would we want to not fund the library. But they are asking for $66,077, which is a little bit of a reduction from last year, which was $66,521. What we pay for is a percentage of all the services and then personnel for weekends and evenings. They pay the personnel during the school hours. So it's really quite a good deal.
Which, they got a decrease?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a decrease.
I'm okay with that. They aren't cutting anything, are they?
I don't think so, no. My,
Oh, they got rid of some, I think they got rid of some, a couple of their not volunteer, but they're paid librarians,
oh,
aren't there anymore.
okay. They're not reducing hours that I've
They're not
heard.
reducing hours, or just not, I think they're not like they were having two or something.
Okay.
Hagedorn was one of them,
Oh, okay.
and he resigned, so I don't know if they're not filling those positions or what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a small decrease, but I would have expected, and it's been that same amount for a long time.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You too, Daryl?
Sure.
All right.
So we don't know if the sheep, we don't know the sheep and cattle depredation, we don't know if that's going up or not. Cause they said they were gonna start paying out for wolves and grizzly bears. Were they
Right.
just paying for coyotes before?
No, that I don't know for sure. I guess I always assumed they're paying some of the wolf stuff, but maybe they weren't.
They were still talking about paying something for, I thought it was maybe wolves and grizzly, maybe it was just grizzly bears. But I thought it was both wolves and grizzly bears, they were gonna start paying out.
There was something about that. With the legislature, wasn't it, or
Yeah.
right before?
It was with the legislature.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen any change in the paperwork. Well, I haven't seen any paperwork yet.
Oh, usually
So-
we see that by now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it'll be the same. They'll let us know how much to pay, and then they'll send us the money, and then we'll pay that. So it doesn't make it any harder on us, which is good. Or easier, which is fine. Anything else? All right, if it's good with you, I'll go get Ann for 2 minutes, and then we can have a quick closed door, and go see if I have that last report.
Okay.
All right.
Use the restroom real quick. must be heard in 2 different meetings at least 12 days apart.
Okay, so you just have to read it.
Yeah,
It'll
12
have to-
days apart, so we
Okay.
won't be able to do it at the next meeting.
Okay,
It'll be the 6th of June,
all right,
or no, the 3rd, we're not having one that day, we'll have to have it on the 4th.
okay. It doesn't have to be published, right? That's just one of those read.
All right, thanks, Ann.
You're welcome.
We didn't make any decisions, but just because we did talk about BCDC and MBAC,
Okay,
there's no conflict of interest between my volunteer work for Broadwater County and citizens and my duty as a county commissioner. My involvement with any or with my community is comparable to other county commissioners throughout Montana. I receive no personal monetary gain from working with Broadwater County Development Corp., BCDC, Townsend Area Chamber of Commerce, Auxiliary, Rotary, Montana Board of Crime Control, Youth Justice Council, Area for Agency on Aging County Board of Printing, or any other organization that offers services to the citizens of Broadwater County. I do not own a business or such property. I do not rent or lease any property or assets to any business. The best way to be an effective county commissioner is to be involved. Montana Association of Counties has committees that support that work: Economic Development Committee, Health and Human Services Committee, among others. MCA 762527 and MCA 95112 support commissioners' involvement. My husband is Executive Director of Montana Business Assistance Connection. MBAC is Broadwater County's Certified Regional Development Corp., CRDC, and our Federal Economic Development Agency, EDA, and it has been since before 2004. In fact, Broadwater County has been involved with and complied with the Public Works and Economic Development Act of 1965. Broadwater County contributes an annual equivalent of $1 million to MBAC to receive services by both EDA and CRDC and is required for that assistance. That $1 million equates to less than 3% of MBAC's operating budget. That $1 million is not paid to Brian Olbert. MBAC derives the funding for many services, including EDA, CRDC, interest-bearing revolving loan funds, grants, state contracts, membership from local businesses and government, cities and county, including Lewis and Clark counties, Augusta, East Helena, Lincoln, Townsend, and Wysocki counties, but the benefits to Broadwater County are far more than $1 million. There's no conflict of interest. Thanks, Ann.
okay. And again, you can let me know when you,
All right,
all right.
thanks.
Are we now going to a closed door now?
Yeah, for just a couple minutes.
Okay. Finish up the personnel evaluation.
Yeah. And here's the copy. If you guys want, we could go up to our office and that would give Tim time to
I'm
take
partying.
his equipment.